Get Warrior Tough. Mental Training 101 with Andrew Wittman and Dutch Coleman. And now back to Andrew and Dutch.
All right, we're back at it. Andrew and Dutch and Andrew, tackling the Oscar issue 2016. All right, if you want to join the conversation, you can call us at 855-856-1380. We do want to hear from you. 855-856-1380. Before we went to break, Dutch was talking about, we were kind of talking about the demographics, so let's set it up again, Dutch. 94% as of 2012. We knew 94% of the Academy voters were white. 77% of the voters were men. And we were about to kick off on them being old and inactive, as in they've not been active for decades, and they're getting up there in age. So go ahead, Dutch.
You know, along with the reports, and I just remember this from memory, where there were situations where voters were voting for well-known directors, well-known people in the different portions of the industry based on their reputation, but without seeing the actual work that was in question. So that was something that was brought up by the Academy itself as them checking their own stuff, as them saying we got to do a better job of this. So that's them admitting it. So I'm gonna take their word for it. So now think about that for a moment. So you have old white men in a very progressive, let's say a very progressive world. Now we know movies have changed a lot over the last 15, 20 years. Not anything you and I have done, but it kind of changed with society. So we have a lot of different. It's a little more open as far as themes. So now you have this generation of voters who are. Let me take a step back. So now, Andrew, you are in charge of the Academy. You want to know what's going on in the movie world. So what you want to do is you want to say, okay, I want to know what's going on in the movie world. I need to have a voting base that's going out there. First of all, seeing the movies. Now, there's some teeny bopper movies that the Academy ain't going to see. I need somebody to go represent that.
Yeah, I really can't believe that High School Musical 1, 2, or 3 was not nominated, man. I mean, I don't understand that whole thing, man. High School, I mean, come on, man.
If for anything, to just eliminate them from contention, you with me? Somebody has to see the movie.
Yeah,
right.
Well, yeah. Did anybody go actually see? I mean, I've seen it 100 times because my kids got my little girl. She watches them, you know. But I think Dora the Explorer got ripped off too, man, for best animation. I love Boots the Monkey.
So there has to be somebody saying, and I'll play it forward straight out of Compton right now. I'm not going to imagine the demographics that we just mentioned were really interested in seeing straight out of Compton, right? This movie about the development and the growth of this urban rap movement, right?
Right. Yeah. Now, Probably not.
But the problem is, it's their job. So I get that they're not interested in it. There's old black men that are not interested in that movie, right? But the difference is with these old white males that have this responsibility is they have to go see it, and they're on record saying they're not going to see the movies. So that's the biggest problem of all. So that's not really racism. It's that race is a factor, because you know what else they're not going to see? They're not going to see date night movies. What do you call it? Romantic comedies.
Yeah, I love romantic. Man, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I can't believe that didn't get nominated. It's one of my all-time favorite movies.
But you see
what you're describing, though, to me, Dutch, so they're voting on stuff they know nothing about. It sounds like the American electorate. We're going into a presidential, you're like, I don't even know who. I'll just go out and vote for whoever. They don't know.
For the opposite, they're only voting on stuff that they know about.
Yeah, that's right. That's the same thing. We're saying the same. I mean, it's a pandemic, dude. I got to tell you. I mean, it's not just the Academy is like a microcosm of the American society.
Absolutely. So instead of crying racism, I'm saying you, Academy, need to do a better job. What type of membership wants people out there voting on a product? I mean, no one's going to see the products. I can't vote on stuff if I'm not out there seeing it. This is your job. So they have to figure out how to get their membership engaged, re-engage them into the process, support the vision. The Academy has a vision, I'm sure, that these folks have completely forgotten about. So number one, I'm going to need more than 77% male. I'm going to need more females, because I need a cross-section of society and people that are interested in sampling all these movies, because I need to know as an Academy what's going on out there. So the problem is bigger than just racism. It's an apathetic mindset of the voters who are not interested in a large portion of what's being served, and we're not getting a taste of it. So we don't know if it tastes good or bad, because no one's even tasting it. And the least you can do is taste it and eliminate it. but they're not even tasting it. So it's a bigger problem for the academy than just race. Again, they were attacked based on age differences. I think it was maybe 15, 20 years ago. So the thing that bothers me about the people who are completely dismissing race as a factor is that we've already determined that age is a factor that's caused problems. So race can be a factor just like age was. But I'm not going to go as far as racism, which the definition of racism is, I'm not nominating you because I think my race is superior to yours and you don't deserve a nomination. That's not the issue.
No, because if it was, and I would just, if that was a factor, I would hate it if I was Denzel Washington. Because if race is a factor when you don't get nominated, then it must have been a factor when he won and Halle Berry won. Like if you're just giving it to us so you could get, you could be politically correct, it diminishes how great a job that he did in Training Day. And also, let me bring up that Will Smith wasn't boycotting that year because he was actually got beat. He was nominated for his role as Ali in that same year, and he was beat by Denzel, but he wasn't boycotting that year. So the facts of, I mean, which way is it going to be, guys? It's almost like, well, I'm not getting my way this year, so I'm out. But he was there, in 2001, and if race is a factor, it diminishes what Denzel did. If you say
Absolutely.
that race, so for me, I want to be, for me as a performer, right? I want to know that if I achieved something, it was because I was really, really great at it, that I performed well, that that you weren't just handing it to me. Like, I didn't even, like, if I was playing Parcheesi with my mom and dad, I didn't want them to, like, let me win when I was a kid. Like, if I won, I wanted to know that I actually won.
Now, see, I don't go. I don't think it's that people want to be handed anything. People want to feel like they had a chance. But this is the problem that I have with that. That they're defining their work and themselves by recognition of others, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you finish that work, there's a couple different ways to define that. How do you feel after you finish that piece of work? Because this is art. We've long identified the acting as an art, right? And the actors themselves define it that way.
Right.
So how do you feel about the work you just did? The other thing is we still have the box office. That's probably one of the biggest indicators. It's not the only indicator, and it's not the indicator, because a lot of times we know great movies people don't go see also because they're not interested in the content, but it can still be a great piece of work. So that's why you go back to how do you feel about the work. So there's so many different measures. Now, I don't mind the Academy not recognizing my work because Golden Globe and a bunch of different others might have recognized my work, which then diminishes the prestige of the Academy because they're the only ones that didn't recognize my work when everyone else is recognizing my work. So at the end of the day, this is my reason for wanting to talk about this, is that the energy I saw being poured into this bothered me. The emotional energy that was being put on display over an award show, I was like, man, people have got to do better. People were going back and forth, trading nasty barbs. The white actors were fussing with the black actors. The white audiences fussing with the black audiences. And I'm sitting there like, this is way too much over this small issue.
Right. No, I'm with you on that, man.
No emotional intelligence on display at all, Andrew. And that's what bothered me most. And then you add in the fact that there are a plethora of issues that made up this problem, not just race. So you can't say racism when there's documented evidence that there are a bunch of different things that are in play at the same time that are causing this problem. That's it.
Right. And dude, I'm so with you on. Okay, so, and you and I next week, every week we do a Phalanx coaching call with, our members that get our personal coaching from you and me every week. Every week they go to get homework, and you and I spend an hour or so on the phone with them. And this next lesson coming up is going to be on validation, right? And this is first off, I don't really care about old white guys validating me. Like, I don't need their stamp of approval. If I did, right, I wouldn't have never joined the Marine Corps, because the one old white guy, my dad, that I was looking for validation from, told me that no, I can't join the Marine Corps. That's not what you're supposed to do, and I'm not supporting you in that. So I never would have joined the Marine Corps if I was trying to get validation from an old white guy. I'm just saying, right? So yeah, I know, it's funny. I love you, Dad. He got behind it afterwards, and that's what if you love each other, you figure out how to do it. And that's, but why would we seek our validation from these Academy guys? I think it diminishes when
the art.
Yes, okay, and it takes away from. It's like if you cooked a great meal, let's talk about like chefs, and some food critic comes and like rips you, but everybody's lining up out the door to come buy your biscuits, right, or whatever it is, or your, what's that movie Ratatouille, right? That didn't get a nomination. I don't know why not. Right?
Great movie.
It's a rat cooking, but then they're all worried about the food critic. Like, who cares? Why are you trying to get validated? If your people love it, like my mom, when she cooked Thanksgiving meal, she didn't care about the food critics. She cared about the people in the house that enjoyed the meal and said, thank you so much. And then we're all like, taking naps after that during like the Cowboys game.
Absolutely. And again, in our line of work, what we do, people always comment to me on how calmly I can discuss issues that are fiery.
Yeah.
I don't need to add any additional stress to my life. I don't need to create stress in my life. So these are very minor issues. I can just sit there, relax, and have a conversation with you about it. And the only thing that bothers me is having to listen to other people fussing and being at each other's throat about issues. Number one, that they're defining the issues incorrectly because they're not using the facts.
Right.
They're using a bunch of truths.
Right.
They're steep in their emotions. That's the driver. The emotion takes over the wheel, and they're not using any logic or any facts or any info that's going to be relevant to what's actually going on. So then I have to sit there and witness people trying to hurt each other, and I don't like that. So then I have to get in. I jump into the conversation and I try to calm it down, and people look at me like I'm crazy, even though they're in agreement. You know what? You're right. But I'm sitting there going, why do you have to go all this way to get there when if you begin to compartmentalize these things from the beginning, put them where they belong, and then pull out what you need, you're going to get to a solution faster, calmer, less stress. You're going to live longer. All these different things that are going to be in play instead of you being an emotional wreck, darn near about to kill your coworker, your friend, your family in some cases, over issues that are much easier to define if you give it a chance.
Right, and that's the thing. I think, and we talk about things, and I'm working well on this with my little girl here. She's 12, and she'll come in, and the neighbors have got all like, and I know we weren't going to fall back into sports, but I'm wearing my Patriots shirt, and they got beat this week, and everybody's like, oh, I hope the Patriots lose because they're cheaters, right? And then I tweeted out to you and Quack, right, that hey, here's the facts that the Broncos are actually ranked number 1 in cheating, and the Patriots were like number 23. So let's verify. Right? So my little girls, they all said cheaters. Okay, well, here's the facts. They're not really. They're number 23 on the all-time list. Okay, and so we got to go to break. But that's exactly – people, like, take something and they run with it. All right, so listen, you're listening to the Get Warrior Tough radio show, and Dutch and I will be right back.